Good morning, everybody. How are you all doing today on this Monday morning? Got your cuppa. It is the 19th of August. So actually, got a bit of hay fever today. It's actually the full moon in Aquarius, but we're not talking about that today. However, on that level, and maybe from today's chat, expect the unexpected. Expect some sudden changes and awakenings. But what we're going to talk about, if we get a chance, is the patterns, repeated cycles. Why do we repeat negative patterns all the time? Why do we attract people that we don't like? Or why do we, why are things not going right for us? Why do we keep going through the same thing all the time? Morning, Karen. Why do we just keep repeating all of that energy? And each time it seems to be a bit worse or a little bit of a harder lesson, or we're just weakened a bit more from the time before. So unless you're on your pattern to healing, it can seem like it's another brick that's being thrown at you, or another harsh life opportunity that's like not even an opportunity, but it is. So why do we keep repeating these patterns? How many people are like, we've all been there, we've all done it. Once you learn to break it, once you learn what that essence is, it does stop, let me tell you. Now, one of the things that why you repeat some of those lessons, and they're often unfulfilling lessons, they're often lessons that are emotionally blocking you or bringing you down, but unfulfilling, whether it's a job, whether it's relationships, whether it's friendships, whether it's finances, whether it's health, whatever it is, it's indicating something in that is not fulfilling you. So therefore, you're attracting that unfulfilling. Now, one of the things could be you put out to the universe, oh my God, I'm always attracting this, I don't want to say it. So then that's what you're putting out to the universe. You're literally saying to the universe, I always attract dickheads, or I always attract this. The universe is like, okay, we're going to give you that. We're going to give you that. You always want to attract it. So you have to be careful about your mindset, super careful, and what you say. I don't mean that, universe, by the way. That's an experiment. One of the other things, so you do have, your words, it's called spelling for a reason. It's a spell. Your words have a spell. So you have to be super careful what you say, what your intention is. Boundaries is a lesson in repeating patterns that that aren't fulfilling you, or you're not happy with. You may not have set boundaries in your life in those particular areas. So the universe, like, you attract that energy so that you can grow, so that you can learn, so that you can start to put boundaries in place for certain things. Unless we're on it from a young child, it takes time. And we learn boundaries as we get older and as we grow. But our boundaries change. What we might have put up with 10 years ago, we're not going to put up with now. So boundaries can change as well. So be open to being flexible. Be open to having those changes. You don't have to, just because you've signed a deal with God, you don't have to stick to it, So boundaries and not having boundaries in place will be super important as far as having repeated patterns. So look at the boundaries that you've got. Are you sticking to the boundaries? One of the other reasons that sometimes we can repeat negative patterns or influences that with the cycles that we're just going round and round circles is we haven't given the universe a clear picture of what we want. We don't know what we want. So it's kind of chucking us everything. But what it will chuck us is things that we know. So things that we're attracting, because things that we're already comfortable with, even though we don't want it, it's our normal. So we start to attract what we are there. So if we haven't got a clear picture of who we are or what we want, and we've not set those intentions of where we want to be or what we want to do, then the universe will just send you what you've already been doing. So that creates a morning Neil, morning Chrissy, morning Melanie, morning Where's morning, Katrina? Morning, Jackie. Good morning, everybody. So if you haven't set a clear picture of what your intentions are, then the universe will be like, okay, yes, we can go with what their soul journey is for, but that takes a little bit more work as well. And I was going to do a talk on what no longer, or what is meant for us will never pass. I was going to do that, and that's linked into your soul energy, but I chose to do this instead for some reason. So I know that this is going to resonate with people, why we're repeated negative patterns. Morning, Monica. So this week, obviously, that's going to resonate more. So yeah, so not having a clear picture in your intentions in your mind about who you are, what you want, it will create that same pattern that you've been going through. So it's really important to not just have boundaries. Like I said, if you don't have boundaries, that's going to create a negative cycle or repeated cycle. But it's really good, morning Monica, to have boundaries, but also to have a clear picture of what it is you want. Like, you know, I always remember that saying from Pretty Woman: I say when, I say who, I say how. And that's it in a nutshell. That's it. So creating a picture that you're in control of, that you're sending out, that can help break some of this repeated cycles there. And, you know, one of the key ones is trauma response there. So lots and lots of people have got trauma from over the years. Morning, Heather. And you're going to, so unless you've dealt with that trauma, unless you've done that inner healing, it's going to repeat itself, because you'll need to be healing. You need to get, morning Alexis, you need to get that trauma dealt with. So until you get it dealt with, it's going to repeat itself. Absolutely. Morning, Pauline. It's going to continue going round and round, coming back, and it may come back in the same way, it might come back in different patterns. So you could find that some of you might be having at the beginning, especially if you haven't got a clear picture or boundaries in place and that you need to learn lessons, you might find that every area of your life is a shit tip, that everything is repeating. You've got a shit relationship, you've got a shit job, you've got a shit home life, you've got I don't know, shit health. So you might find there's lots of things, and then all of a sudden you start working on the relationship side of things. So you get a decent fella or a decent bird, and then you find that that's good, but you've got a shit home or a shit job. So you find that actually there's trauma and there's repeated patterns in that area, not necessarily in the other area. So you might have more than one area to get on with, to be honest. You might have more than one area that repeats itself. And the trauma can come up in different areas. So if you deal with it like in the relationship, but there's an underlying trauma, it might come up in another area. So it could ping up and smack you in the face. The same as the clearer picture. You need to have a clearer picture on every single area. Because again, it will just show you, okay, well, we'll give you what you're used to then, because that's what we know, what we're doing there. And you might have to learn boundaries in these different areas, or have, like I said, a fixed idea of what you want. So it's the trauma side of it, the healing side of it can come up in different areas. But it's, morning Emma, it's important to recognise that trauma. And the trauma may have been, who was I talking to this week? I was talking to a client, and we've had a couple of clients this week where we've managed to figure out the root cause of the situation. And you can just see once we've spoken and we've worked through things, you can see like the penny dropping moment when I say, right, but I think it's this is the issue, not this, it's this. And you can just see them melt and go like, that's it, I know what I've got to do. And we've had a few of those this week. So sometimes it's not what's hitting you in the face, sometimes it's something either a bit less obvious, or it may be hidden in a different way, in a different area there. So for example, a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people with eating disorders, let's say anorexia, it's a form of control. They want to be in control, and usually it's because they're not in control of an aspect of their life, and that could be any aspect, but they've chosen that trauma to resonate in their health because they're in control of that. They might not be in control of those past emotions, or what happened when they were little, or their financial situation, or even their relationship. They might not be in control of their relationship. They could be super desperate, but they can control what they eat. So there is that aspect where they've turned the trauma from a different angle into something that's causing now a negative problem. People that are often either hoarders or overweight hugely and just can't seem to get out of that cycle are protecting themselves. Not everyone, but the thin line there, thin line on a fat person. Don't know if I should have said that. Anyhow, but they're trying to protect themselves, so they're hoarding things or they're eating things. They're making themselves bigger because there's a fear of loss, a fear of rejection, a fear of not having anything. So rather than not have anything, they choose to have it all there. So that creates its own problem. So understanding the root cause is super important in understanding why these repeated patterns are. And yeah, we absolutely somehow, I don't know how, somehow we do that in my sessions. The tarot reading turns into a counselling session. But I've been able to see it this week, and it's helped people break the pattern, break the cycle. So that's why I wanted to talk about it today. So you need to get some healing. If you've got trauma response, and that's why you're repeating patterns, that's why you're constantly hoarding, that's why you're constantly got weight problems, one or the other, or self-sabotaging is huge, self-sabotaging. So could be do with financial. Saw a lady this week again who was self-sabotaging in the financial realms, and we pinpointed where that happened, and it was down to her having loads of money when she was younger, and then not all of a sudden it was taken away from her, and then it came back to her. So she's a spendaholic, and we worked it out because she had it taken away from her. So she wants to buy everything when she has it all, so that she's not in a position of, I don't have any money, I can't have what I want. She's like, I've got the money, I've got loads of money, I'm having everything. So and we worked out why and how she can't save from that reason. So there can be so many different aspects of where the trauma comes in, but it's big, so you need to look at the trauma side of things to heal. The other area is fear. Why we're repeating patterns is fear. We are often get stuck in a cycle of what we're comfortable with. So we fear moving out of that. We fear change. Morning Jill, morning Georgie, morning Emma. We fear change. We fear going into the new. We fear breaking a cycle. We want it, but because some of us don't like change, and going into the unknown is more scary than perhaps repeating those patterns. And then you get into a terrible state of just being low and depressed because you're too fearful. You're stuck in a place where you're not embracing new. And in a way, I mean, I know lockdown did a lot of damage to a lot of people's mental health, but in a way, there's some things that you just are out of our control completely, and sometimes you just have to give that over. And lockdown kind of showed that, where we were told anyway that we couldn't do this and we couldn't do that. Some of us carried on, but we were told that we couldn't do this, and that can put a fear in, but that created a change that a lot of people who were in a cycle, in a pattern, all of a sudden there was a huge worldly change. So they had no choice to change. They had to change their pattern. They had to change their routine. They had to change their cycle. And I know some people, as horrendous as some of the lockdown was, actually it was a positive flip, because it made them see things differently, do things differently, act differently, definitely see things differently, recognise bigger pictures of things, and they were able to have a reset. So I definitely believe that the universe at times will do things if we're not listening, if we're not paying attention. I do think they'll be like, hello, we're going to do something big here. But other times we have that most of the time we've got that personal responsibility, and we can't just sit and wait and think, well, if the universe wanted me to be a millionaire and have a yacht in Spain, I would. that it don't work like that. It don't work like that. It's not quite like that. So we have to take personal responsibility. And think, actually, if I'm not happy in a situation, I can't wait for the universe just to open those doors and change that. I've got to change that. But when you're in this fear or flight mode, usually that's connected to your base chakra. Usually there's conditions either to do with school or to do with mum, to do with things where you've got no security, or you don't but feel like you belong anywhere. So usually the fear comes in with that, and you have no self-confidence because of it. But as far as repeating cycles goes, it blocks you, because although you want to move forward, you're scared of what will be. And it's almost like, wow, this has got to be better than perhaps the unknown there. So that's where you take personal responsibility and think, is it better? Is it? There is a fantastic book. I was in a shitty relationship, domestic violence relationship, between 14 and 19. And I was scared. I wanted to get out, but I was in such a bubble, and I was really scared of the change. And like, well, I know this, and I was in that place of, well, you know, is the grass really greener? It's not all bad. It's not all bad. There was some great friends that were connected to that time, and I know I was in that place of, the change felt worse than the breakaway. And I read this book, I was probably about 17, 18 when I read it. Morning Linda, morning Debbie, morning Emma, morning Susie. I read this book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And it was a game changer. It was a game changer. I finished the book, finished the relationship, and my life changed hugely, massively. I was so much more happier, so much more myself. And really that was the path onto doing all of this, getting into all this, and understanding my part in it, recognising that personal responsibility, and recognising that you can change anything that you want. You really can. So I would 100% recommend, and if I had time, I'd reread Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Absolutely, it's a game changer. So when you have a fear and you're afraid to move into something new, that will repeated patterns. And again, it's saying to the universe, I'm comfortable with this, I'm all right with this, give me more of this, because I'm not doing anything about it. I'm happy in this repeated shitty cycle, so bring it on, bring me more. So you're sending out that vibe to the universe that, you know, you don't really want to change, you don't really want to break free from it. So there may be some of you that have got lots of areas that need change. There might be some of you that have just got one or two areas that need to change. So have a look where you're repeating those cycles. One of my lessons hugely was standing on my own 2 feet. So I always felt like I wanted to be part, as an adult, wanted to be part of a group, of a gang, if you like, or of something. So I tried to kind of fit in to belong, and my mum left, so there may have been, I never worked on it properly really, because I just found my own way out of it. But there may have been some, well, there would have been some trauma, definitely, when she left. But there may have been some root chakra stuff going on with that when I think about the timings of it all, to be honest. Anyhow, so I was trying to find my tribe for quite a long time, and I would drift in and out of different groups. I actually had a lovely group, and I self-sabotaged that. And that was round the same time that my mum left, so that's something else. However, I moved into trying to find these other tribes, and the more I tried to do that, the more it was difficult, the more hard it was. And it was almost like the friends were fake friends, really. They were false groups that I was like just trying to, I thought, but I was part of it. But when I look back, probably wasn't really, or one particular group. Some of those groups I'm still very good friends with, especially the toddler groups, very good friends with. But I definitely was trying to find a tribe. Anyhow, so one of the main lessons I learned over the last few years was that I don't need that. I'm better off on my own. And once I took myself out of these sticky situations, and I was trying to do everything for everyone else, or I was trying to like help their business, help them, grow them, and it was always at a cost to me. But I didn't mind. I was like, oh, I'll sort my stuff out in a minute. I'll sort my stuff out in a minute, because I genuinely wanted to help them, because I could see so much potential. And I am a bossy cow, so I was like, they should be doing this. You should be doing this. So at that cost, I recognised that I was losing my own self there, and I could feel that, but I carried it on, and in the end the universe was like, we're going to take you out of this situation. But I knew that I was in a repeated cycle of trying to please people. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to please people at a cost to my own. And almost not, I was kind of like, I know there's a couple of people where I like pretended that things were worse in my life to make them feel better. I'd moan about this or moan about that, but I'd really be thinking, I've got nothing to moan about, I'm all right. But because they were always moaning, I felt like I wanted to make them feel better by making my own stuff a little bit worse than what it actually is, which is a weird thing, but probably quite common. So once I recognised this and pulled away, or got taken away, shall I say, there was still a repeated pattern. And actually it's in my astrology chart. When I looked, it is actually in my astrology chart. So, and that's really good to understand your astrology chart, and then you can find patterns there. Anyhow, it started to get less and less, but I was still repeating them, but I was aware of this repeated pattern. And then the final straw was probably, I don't know, not so long ago. And I really recognised, actually, you just need to step back. You absolutely need to step back and stop trying to help people all the time at the cost of yourself. Stop, let them do their own pathway, let them do them, you do you. And you don't need a tribe, you don't need people. And as soon as I like broke away and started doing stuff on my own, morning Donna, that's when I found people would start to gravitate to me, and I didn't need to go looking. The right people just came naturally. And everything simplified for me. So for me, it was a very clear picture over about 7 years on one particular area. That it took about 7 years for me to recognise that and come out of that. And I don't have that repeated pattern, but I recognise, because it does sneak in every now and again, I can feel that I could go down that same road, but I stop it. I'm like, no way, no way. And it does make you a bit detached. It does make you a little bit detached. I'm not as in there like I was with certain people. So there's a slight detachment with it, but I'm okay with that. I'm all right with that. The other repeated pattern that I had forever, and this is also in my chart, is being financially dependable on relationships. Honestly, every single guy I had, apart from one, was always financially dependent on me. They weren't at the beginning, and then somehow, again, it was to do with like me helping them. I would like just give them money, and I had 3 jobs at one point, and one boyfriend didn't have any, and I was absolutely, it was mental. When I look back, it was mental. I'd be happy for him to get a taxi. We were piss poor then. Him to get a taxi to places, and I'd be riding my bike in the rain because I couldn't afford the bus fare. But for some reason, I was like, no, but you get a taxi. Bizarre. You have this, you have that. I was like, so it's down to worth, isn't it? It's always down to worth, your values, how much you are worth. And I didn't value myself, clearly. And that was a repeated pattern. And then the next guy I got, again, he had money at the beginning, then all of a sudden that disappeared. Then again, I'm paying for everything. I even paid for that first boyfriend to go to Amsterdam on a lad's holiday, because I just thought, he was only about 22, I was about 20, and I just thought, what a good experience. Like, I'd hate anyone to miss out on that, and it's only money at the end of the day, and you're going to get memories from that, but what a good experience. And he ended up cheating on me on that holiday, so what a mug I was. But I was, yeah, I don't know, it was a weird feeling. I remember feeling it, of just like, I really wanted to make him feel fulfilled, I guess. So that's happened lots. That's happened a lot, and that took a long time for me to end up saying, do you know what? No, mate. Sort yourself out. Get your own funds there. And it's common when you've got your children, when you get into the pattern. I'm terrible of mine. Of if they need anything, they've got it. obviously not spoiled, but they've got it. But if I need something, I'm like, oh no, I'll wait. Oh no, I'll wait. But if the kids say like, I need a new pair of shoes, or I want to go bowling with my mates, I'm like, yeah, sure, here you go. But if I'm like, oh, if it's me, I'm like, well, maybe I'll wait a little bit. But in general, I had a massive money block there, in a repeated pattern, and that was in my astrology chart as well. So it's all to do with worth, but I recognised that, got it sorted, and now it don't happen. But there is that detachment, like I said. So when you're ready to work on yourself, when you're ready to make a change, you can change it. You can change it. So looking at things to change some of those repeated patterns is working on your boundaries, working on set boundaries and how and what you want. You say when, you say how, you say why. Looking at how you can heal your inner self. So looking at the traumas, looking at why you're having repeated patterns, trying to find that core essence as to why that is, what's going on there. And once you've found that base core line, you can then work on it, you can heal on it. And a lot of the time, that penny dropping moment just comes. We found it this week with clients. It's just coming, it's just like epiphany. It's like, it's so simple. It's not even, it's deep, but it's not even that deep to find. It's deep to then heal, but it's not even deep to find. What your intentions are, what you're setting out to the universe, what you're saying to the universe is it going to be acceptable? That is going to be huge in changing these lessons around you, to trying to stop that pattern, letting the universe know, letting you know what is going to be acceptable. And then once you put those boundaries in place, once you've decided who says when, what, how, why, and when you've decided what you clear picture you want, where it is you want to go, what sort of person you want to be, what sort of energy you want to attract, what sort of vibes you want around you, that has a reset. And reading that book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, honestly, game changer. Donna, working in my boundaries is something I've worked very hard. It is, yeah, but you're getting there, Donna. You're absolutely getting there. But if you do nothing else, I'd recommend that book anyhow. But have a look at what is repeating. And when you're looking at cycles, you've got to look at you've got to be honest, absolutely honest with yourself. So it's best to do it on your own, not in a group. Best to do it on your own, when you can just sit quietly and be like, well, what are these? What is it that I'm not in control of? What is it that I'm trying to control? Like I said, usually people with eating disorders, there's another reason why they're trying to control their food, because they're not in control of this or they're not in control of that. So having a realistic look at yourself, being super honest with yourself is the key. And when you can pull back the layers, be a bit of an onion, pull back the layers and recognise those, that's the beginning of where it all starts to magic create and change. Don't fear the change. Be the change that you want to see. So, on that note, let's have a little card for today before I get going. I've got a branding appointment at 10:30 with a lady from LinkedIn. So we're having a look at my brand. Right, morning, Linda. Okay, if you've missed the chit chat, you're going to have to listen back on replay. I will replay it and I will put it on YouTube as well. So let's have a little look for today's vibe. It is a new moon. No, it's not. It is the full moon in Aquarius today. I haven't put anything up yet. I've been super busy. Been working on a new project yesterday, all day. So exciting. Can't tell you about it, but it's exciting. And it's going to be about 2 more weeks before we can launch that. But did up yesterday's. So, yeah, I haven't done anything with the full moon. But basically, the full moon off the top of my head, in Aquarius, it's going to be revolutionary. It's going to be like, oh, I get it now. Like we just said, it's going to be to do with fullness is like releasing. So there will be, it's ruled by Uranus, the planet of sudden changes. So there's going to be some sudden changes this week. There's going to be some, maybe upheavals, but revolutionary things going on. Perhaps some things going on with tech as well. And we've got Mercury retrograde. So I would say this week, expect the unexpected. Expect some changes to pop up there, but for the bigger picture. Okay, so let's have a look at your message to go with this little reading, little chit chat today. It's the 8 of Pentacles. Prioritize things. Now, it's going to be super important that you're not too scattered this week, particularly because we have got this full moon, which does bring up a lot of emotion, and we've got that Mercury retrograde, and we've got Uranus in Taurus. We've got so much going on. So try not to be scattered. Try not to feel like you've got to do everything and everyone. So, unless you want to. So, it is summer. Anyway, think about what you need to prioritise, what you need to get done, and work on that one step at a time. And it is going to be hard work. If you want the job done, it's going to need some attention. The sun in Virgo, pay attention to detail, crack on with it. It is going to be hard work, but it will be worth it. And an 8 out of 10 is indicating you're almost there. So you've done some of the donkey work already. You're almost there. You're just not quite a 10, but you're also not a 2 or 3. You've moved forward. So now it's like roll the sleeves up time to get on with things, time to prioritise and crack on with what's important. Alexis, thank you for the chat today. It really does resonate with me, but the fear feels massive. I will look at the book. Look at it. It's great. We've all done things. You know, I left my husband from a tarot card reading, actually. I did a tarot card and just thought, I need to do it today. Went home, told him. And that was scary, and it's worked out 10 times better. I would probably say every single thing I've done that where I've took a leap of faith, everything has worked out better. Absolutely everything. And do you know what? If it's not your bag that you jump into, if you go from the frying pan into the fire, you can jump out of it. You can make another change. It may be part of your boundary setting. It might be part of the lessons that you've got to learn. I'm a big believer that we have our choices with free will and destiny. We have our lessons that we've got to learn, but our free will decides how we're going to learn them. You know, if we go down road A, we're going to learn them in a certain way. If we go down road B, we'll learn the same lessons, but in a different way. But the core of that lesson we'll still learn. But our free will shows us which way. So if we're not happy with something, we can move, we can change. What we're not going to miss out on our life's lessons or what we're here for at the core, because that's part of our destiny there. But feeling the fear and just going for something, it doesn't mean to say you've got to stay in that place. It might just be baby steps to get you where you want to go there. So, and what's the other saying? Fuck it and do it anyway.